Welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb,
And with me, Robbie.
and we today, I've already straight away. We today, I'm going to stick to it, are looking at our initial reactions to Prey.
Yeah, we are. I say we're straight from the cinema, but obviously this has gone straight to Hulu in America and Disney Plus in the UK. As always, thank you for checking in with the show. Thank you for your support. And as always, hit the subscribe button. I've got to get that in. I've got to get that in my first part. But no,
just run it straight in. Yeah, you're right. It's odd that we didn't have to see this film because it straight in. It does feel like something that we should have been seeing in the cinema.
I mean, so it is obviously it's a direct to streaming kind of film, and I think some people get this idea that direct to streaming has almost replaced the whole direct to DVD market, when a film wouldn't go to the cinema, it would just go straight to DVD.
But you also expect a direct to DVD film to be of less quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Like not quite as big a budget, not quite as grand scale looking. You expect the visual to be basically you expect a direct to DVD film to star Nicolas Cage, Bruce Willis, or John Travolta or something. Like that's what you expect, kind of thing. Or
Hellraiser sequel.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's a horror, it's a sequel film. It's it's like Quarantine 2, or it's the eighth Hellraiser. It's the whatever one's the Reef Part 6. I don't know.
But one thing I will say about this film, because obviously it is straight to streaming, and I think a lot of people were kind of concerned that it was going to be a bit lesser budget or look like that. But I mean, I think if we'd have seen this in the cinema, I don't think I'd have come away disappointed or thinking, well, actually.
No, I don't. No, I definitely don't. I personally think this would have been fantastic. I think this should have been in the cinema.
Yeah,
I've got a little bit of at the moment because we've got a lot of streaming services who are starting to go much more towards we're going to do some films that are released in cinemas and some films that we're going to do specifically for streaming. Normally, unless you're Netflix, they put a slightly lower budget on the films that are direct to streaming because they know that they're not going to make theatrical big bucks. Because with that one, obviously, you get the benefit of you've already got it in the cinema, but then you get extra money when you release it exclusively on your streaming service after, which I still think makes a lot more sense to do cinema than exclusively onto there. I think everyone's trying to compete with Netflix and they're trying to make these big. But if you look at Netflix, let's be honest, they put some big bucks into a lot of films, but I can't say that a grand majority of them are actually normally that great.
No.
They're normally that was okay. Like you spent like 200 million on a Dwayne Johnson film, Red Notice, and it was fine. It was enjoyable, but it didn't blow my mind. It wasn't like amazing. It was Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds being Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, but in nice clothes, nice cars, and an explosion with 200 million budget. You know what I mean? Like it's like that. Like they do make some good ones, like Fear Street. We enjoyed that trilogy. That was not the 200 million budget kind of ones, but it had something behind it. So it's got those, but. To be honest, it's Hulu and Disney Plus, which are a little bit of my at the moment because we've got all of these films like Prey, which I think should have gone to cinemas.
Yeah.
They're releasing Hocus Pocus 2, which a lot of people have been waiting years for, but that's going directly to streaming, which to me is just like, why? Like you could have made money.
Choices.
Pinocchio, them remaking Pinocchio live action kind of thing. And again, that's directly to streaming and not in cinemas. It's just, I don't get it. It's like a lot of these films, like, why are you not...
Yeah, it's an interesting...
Why are you not pushing for it? I get the idea that Disney's got more money, so it doesn't matter to them anyway, to be fair.
Yeah.
They can release whatever the fuck they want and be like, yeah, we still got money. We own Marvel. We don't need to make anything else in a year because we'll release like 10 Marvel films a year and we'll make loads of money. But it's an odd one. Definitely for me. And I think Prey, to go to the film and get away from the streaming part of it, Prey is probably the best looking Predator film.
Yeah,
the grand scale. There are some shots in some of the other Predator films that look great and amazing, but this is shot. The cinematography of this film is beautiful. The landscapes, the way they've used the land and the world around you, it's amazing. This is a big draw for this film, is the fact that, and another reason why I think that we've seen that critics are being quite nice to this. It's got like 92% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, which is way higher than any other Predator.
But that's its release day, isn't it? So
it's release day.
Probably go down, unfortunately.
It is. It's been going through that for about a week now. So I think it's settling around that area, which is still a lot higher than any other sequel. Yeah, and the original, in fact. But the original can't quite count because that one was never in the cinemas with that. But it is the way it looks, and I think the approach and the fact that it's got a female protagonist, and the fact that it's got, it uses the Comanche tribes and stuff like that, and uses that history, I think is a lot to its benefit of this film, of using the more scaled down Predator film. I
mean, so we're both massive Predator fans. I would probably say I'm a bigger Predator fan than you. I've got several of the comics. One of my birthdays, maybe last year or the year before, you brought me like a Predator statue. And I even remember, because I remember watching Predator when I was very young with my dad on ITV. It was always on ITV all the time. So I remember watching it when I was young, terrified of it, but also loving it. And I've kind of always had a love for that. I've always had a love for Arnie action films, I really like Predator 2. I think it's a bit weird, but it kind of works. I really like Predators. I remember we went to see it on my birthday. I got all the boys together. We went to see it. I loved it. And I know a lot of people don't like the Predator, and I think it is a flawed film, but I think it's fun. However, for me, I was kind of thinking, where do you go with a Predator film? You had the first one, which kind of obviously established the Predator and kind of set the scene. And then with the second one, they took it to the concrete jungle and they took it away. Third one, obviously, they had the kind of Predator game planet. Fourth one, I think the story was kind of very middling and all over the place, personally. But I always kind of thought, well, how are you going to do another Predator film that doesn't just boil down to a bunch of armed, special ops people going somewhere and then being hunted? So when I heard that they were doing it 300 years ago, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting, because there's a lot of scope for Predator to do that, to kind of go back. And then I heard it was going to be about Comanche tribes, which were obviously UK based, so I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of Native Americans or that kind of period of America. But I thought, this could be a really interesting way. And then I saw the first trailer and I was thinking, okay, this is interesting. I wonder how they're going to do it. I heard, from early previews and stuff like that, because it had gone straight to streaming, and because, the Predator franchise has never been a massive moneymaker. It's always underperformed a little bit. And then the Predator unfortunately bombed, so they kind of, that for me makes sense why they put it directly to streaming, because they didn't want another bomb. And I kind of heard, well, okay, it's got, it's straight to streaming. I heard some of the CGI was a little shoddy, but actually watching it, I don't think that was the case. There were some points, like you said, the cinematography was beautiful in some places. I think apparently I checked and it was filmed in Alberta, Canada. And some of the landscapes and the shots that they got were really beautiful. And I think overall it really worked. I don't think it was the perfect film, but I think it was a really interesting and a really good take on a Predator film, especially given, going back. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about some of the acts and stuff like that, without going into spoilers. Then naturally we'll jump into kind of spoiler territory of our highlights. But overall, I actually felt that the film was really strong, and I'd kind of been looking forward to it, and it kind of crept up on us. It was kind of here before we knew it.
It didn't get very much marketing, it felt like, before a couple of months ago.
No, not really.
I don't think it really came. It came out of kind of It was kind of out of nowhere. If you didn't have any clue about this kind of thing, in fact, it was actually a complete mystery. Like you mentioned to me before, but I'd already heard about this quite a long time ago because obviously the film was not originally meant to be advertised as
a
Predator film.
Yeah.
But that wasn't due to their actual fault. That wasn't them deciding we're going to actually go for this. It was leaked. Basically,
yeah, I heard that.
It was leaked online, and that made them have to try and change because they didn't. Dan Trachtenberg didn't want to sell it like that. He wanted us to think it was about a young warrior coming into a crime, and there's a threat, and they were never going to market what the threat actually was. To try and sell it that way. So it was always meant to be a lower budget film anyway, because they were never going to sell the Predator. That's why some things, CGI and stuff, are not quite 100% perfect, because it's putting its money into its main parts, and some parts are going to have to lose out a little bit to tell the story they wanted to tell, because this was actually put into production the same time the Predator.
Oh, really?
So the Predator, this was already in development before the Predator was even released in cinemas. I don't know whether that shows that they didn't have complete faith in the Predator film, or it's just a case of they were so like, oh, that sounds like such a good idea, we're going to do that for the 5th installment in the franchise. But yeah, it was obviously meant to be sold as just a film about someone going to their prey and not a Predator film, because I think they also recognized that Predator film necessarily wasn't the biggest draw anyway. So people might actually come to it regardless. They might get about the same amount of people regardless of whether the Predator's on the screen or not, like you said. But it's interesting watching the film. I would almost say, like, the director, Dan Trachtenberg, he made 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, he did.
Which was another film which was originally intended to not reveal that it was a Cloverfield sequel.
Yeah, I heard about
or that. Or in the Cloverfield universe. So they called it 10 Cloverfield Lane. That was more of a bulk by the studio at last minute to go, oh no, we need to say that this is part of this, because otherwise who's going to go and see this this thriller? Because that's a film that very much is it's not until the very end. The film is not a Cloverfield alien film until literally about when we find out a twist that it's actually in that universe. And again, which would have in that case, that would have been a complete like, oh shit. Like, exactly, if it hadn't have been advertised that it was a Cloverfield film, so you knew that at some point there was going to have to be some kind of monsters in it. That film would have 100% worked without having had any reveal, except for the fact that because people were expecting it, it might have seemed a bit like, what the fuck? Like, this is a stupid like ending to the film that was to be fair, a lot of people still actually believe that film is better. The film itself, majority of the film is great. The last 10-15 minutes ruins the film, because the film was actually great before that, and John Goodman was awesome in that film. However, so Dan Trachtenberg has a history of trying to do this. I don't think it would have worked anyway with this. The Predator is there too early, shown too quickly. The spaceship's shown straight away. The invisible version of it. I'm not saying the full Predator form is shown, but you see him. You kind of follow the Predator for quite a lot of the film. If it was going to work in a film like this, it would have made more sense if you just don't know what is killing them. I think, and you don't see the blood. And if you'd done all those parts where it was more of a Jaws effect, and you don't see barely any trace until, say, the second half or the end of the second act or something like that, then this would have totally like, holy shit, I've been watching a Predator film this whole time. That would have blown my mind. But because it's pretty much like in the first, 5 minutes, we see a rocket in the sky.
It's very early in the film.
It would have made me, I think in the cinema, I would have gone like, oh, well, that's awesome. But I would have expected this to get ruined anyway, even if they made it all the way to this date. Someone would have ruined it straight away that it's a Predator film. It would have been everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
But still, I just think there are films when you can see the design and see like, oh, that twist would have totally worked towards the second part. But this one is, you have the Predator so much spread through the film. Not nearly as much as the main character. No. Naru, I believe her name is.
Naru, yeah.
But it's just not enough that it wouldn't have actually been a twist when you got in there. It would have been like, oh, okay, well, I came here to watch this warrior film, and oh, okay, I'm actually watching a Predator film.
Well, like you said, I think to break the film kind of down into its 3 acts, without going into spoilers. So I think the first act, like you said, it's pretty early established that it is a Predator film. So even if they'd have been able to manage to say, well, actually, we're not going to do it, pretty early you've noticed, because you do see the ship and you do see the Predator. What I did really like about the first act of the film is that the Predator, unlike the Predator, for instance, he is cloaked and you don't see him for a lot of time. So when we were watching this, there were some scenes where you could see the Predator in his cloak, but then there were other scenes where you couldn't, and I was like, oh, is he watching? It's not quite in Predator, the original, where it starts off as almost like a kind of a generic action film. Yeah. Until you get to the reveal.
It's basically Commando.
Yeah, it's basically Commando with an alien. Until, so this film, it does reveal the Predator earlier, though not kind of what he looks like in his, in the cloaked version.
I think because we know what the Predator is. There's no point in hiding it because we know. But no, I definitely, that wasn't a negative on the fact that we do see him. There were a few scenes where I thought maybe you could have shown him a little bit less.
I quite liked it.
But I like seeing certain scenes were fantastic. Certain scenes were just like kind of him stood there or going through the water and stuff. And I was like, man, you didn't necessarily need that scene. But I did like the fact that we knew he was there and we saw him hunting, and especially the scenes when we get to see Predator hunting
other stuff,
but it's like he's developing a knowledge of his hunting skills.
Yeah.
So he kind of works his way up, kind of up the food chain of animals, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's definitely an interesting. Those scenes are definitely interesting. If you're an animal lover, probably not. Yeah. But they're interesting because it's almost like you can almost see the thought process of why he's doing it. Like the Predator's scanning our planet to work out what is the biggest prey here.
Yeah.
Who is my prey?
Yeah. Nice. I like it. I think I like a lot of the characters I did like. The kind of main characters we obviously get throughout the film, and Naru and her brother, who I can't remember the name of her brother off the top of my head, unfortunately. Tabe, maybe.
See, I don't know Dakota how to pronounce these names. Dakota Beaver's.
What I did like is, a lot of the actors in this did have kind of Native American heritage, and I think
the plan was that they were all meant to anyway.
Yeah,
like at least that was the plan.
Yeah,
that they all were meant to have an actual link to Comanche heritage to make it authentic, because that was a big part of this film.
And obviously you can get it with a Comanche dub, and I probably will watch it. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch this again. And I think because Naru is the central character, and I think I liked her character. We got to see some growth in her. I don't think she didn't come in kind of established as an amazing hunter and kind of established as being the best as it is. It's kind of like
she fails as much as she succeeds in this film,
and that kind of makes it enduring and makes her her struggle all the better, and the fact that she gets her ass kicked a little bit.
There's definitely gonna be some I don't know, idiots, morons, whatever you want to call them, online that are going to be like, well, it's a woman, so I don't see how she could beat him. Like if so some people say if Adrian Brody
if Danny Glover
could be if either of those guys, and that was the thing, because I actually like both of them.
I like those films as well.
But that people will be asking themselves the same way with those. To be fair, Adrian Brody was actually a much more built up as a action man. Adrian Brody,
yeah, he was.
He was much more built up as actually someone who could kick ass kind of thing, and he does show his skills in Predators. Danny Glover is much more questionable as how he was able to pull that off. But I'd say in this one, the thing is, the film itself, if you're questioning yourself, how could someone like that actually end up defeating the Predator? The film does answer the question quite well, because it shows a whole range of what Predator can do. It show a whole range of what she can do and what she learns to do. But it's also how she learns from each encounter. You see that she takes something from it. She takes a little piece of information that helps her in the end. And this is not also, I'm not going to spoil. I'm not saying what the end. I'm just saying this is not Arnie versus the Predator. This is not that style. This is, yes, Arnie has some tactical stuff and things like that. And I'd almost say the Arnie one was probably more of an action-packed, a bit more like full-on kind of thing. Whereas this one is much more of a strategic. Not to say that Arnie's wasn't, because it was, but like there is much more of a kind of, I know that I can't try and fight you, whereas Arnie's was a little bit more of a I'm gonna get you. I'm coming for you. Like I'm taking that shirt off and I'm gonna lay some punches into you. Kind of thing. Whereas this is not that. Like she does it because of that, and there's also a situation. The Predator's almost been in his own little journey through this film of how he's managed to attack against other things that puts him in a more vulnerable position as well, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really cool. I think before we get into spoiler territory, obviously it was going to Hulu and it was going straight to streaming. So my concerns came in kind of in Act 2. So, it's almost like Act 1 is kind of establishing what's going on and is establishing, the Native American tribe or the Comanche tribe. And then Act 2 is kind of Naru's journey. And at this point I got to, okay, is it got to be like a one woman show, basically, where it's just Naru versus the Predator, and it's about the wilderness and it's about survival. But then the third act and kind of towards the end of the second act, going into the third act, is when a lot more of the action kicks in. And for me, it kind of it didn't make it look as if it was a low budget film, or I could have watched this in the cinema and come out thinking, I got my money's worth.
I don't think this looks low budget at all. There's literally the only things I would say are occasion, because they've had to CGI animals. Yeah, some of the animals you notice do not look photorealistic.
Yeah.
But they don't look that far off, and I've seen animals in plenty of films that look like a lot worse than this, in recent films that look just as worse than these animals. No, they don't look but they don't look completely photorealistic. But at the same time, they're also not where all the money is meant to be pumped into. They're only in it for about a scene or so, and most of them still look real enough to be, No, I completely like this film. Definitely, I don't notice any major problems. Some people might. There's a CGI to the Predator's face. Yeah, that some people might, be a little bit. That doesn't look complete, because it looks a little bit like the CGI in The Predator when he had a CGI kind of whole body.
I thought it looked more facial wise. I thought it looked more like, as they call him, Mr. Black in Predators. Kind of a smoother head and bigger mandibles. I thought it looked really cool.
It was really like the look, the reinvention. I especially actually, to be honest, I actually liked it. Before we see the full Predator, the helmet redesign and stuff like that. It's like a kind of a skull kind of thing. That kind of helmet redesign. For a while, I thought that actually was his face.
Okay,
I thought that was just that, because the way the mouth looked, it looked like it was actually it connected with that. So I thought that this was just a complete reinvention of the look. Also, and I was actually totally into it.
Another thing is, I got to give. I gotta give a lot of love to the set design and the costumes in this, because they looked incredible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
the set and the design is fantastic. The costumes look great. The weapons looked fantastic. The way they used them, and especially the Predator looked imposing, looked bigger, taller.
I thought he looked slimmer. I thought he looked quite
cool.
Slimmer
but taller.
Felt.
Yeah, lean.
He's lean.
He's having that chicken and rice or whatever. So,
plain chicken, rice. He's been meal prepping. You know what I mean?
But you're right.
In the gym.
There was a lot of this. I actually think they have actually saved from the trailers and stuff, because when I watched the trailers, I got the idea that this was going to be, like you said, a very one-woman show. So at a certain point, when we have the character kind of go separate from her tribe, I thought the rest of the film was basically just going to be the Predator trying to hunt her and her trying to like go.
Yeah.
And I did. We had a little bit of that, and very quickly in my head I was going, I don't know how we're going to keep watching this because it's just going to get sillier and
Not
sillier.
for an hour. Yeah.
But luckily, we do get develop like new characters that are brought in.
Very interesting.
In very interesting ways, using historical kind of ways.
Yeah.
That are very interesting. There's even a link to a mystery in a previous film. Won't say what that is now.
Yeah, we won't say.
But it's a very cool way to approach it. Like I said on Insta, we're going to move over to thing, but I was just going to, like I said on Insta, I'd been rewatching almost all of these films. I didn't rewatch The Predator, not because I don't like it, like Rob. I mainly had no problem with it. I liked the characters in it. I liked the fit. There's just some of the sci-fi stuff that they just took a bit too far. I thought some of the ideas, it was a bit like, I'd just say for The Predator, if you like, for anyone who's watched it, the crew of people that they brought in loved them, loved the characters, the back and forth. That was classic OG Predator.
Yeah.
The dialogue, stuff like that, you could tell that Shane Black had a little bit of a hand in the original almost, because that dialogue was so there. Sexual Tyrannosaurus, like those characters were right there in The Predator. The problem was they added in all the stuff about autism and that kind of stuff, and they just overbogged it down with ideas. There was too many ideas thrown in there, and we've said before about this. The ending is terrible. The final scene is possibly the worst thing that happened to the Predator franchise.
Yeah,
I'm glad that got cut off actually because of that. That's terrible. But I love the original. Of course, I don't need to say much apart from the fact that it's an amazing action film. It's not too much of a horror film. I find it has its scenes, but then all Predators are kind of like this. Is more sci-fi action with its dipping it into horror. The sequel was much more gory and graphic. I was actually Predator 2 when I watched it the other day. I'm a bit more mixed than I expected. I'm surprised, but it was cheesier than I remembered.
Yes,
it's an odd film though. I get why it's a cult film.
I need to rewatch.
And Predators I love. There were a lot of people online. I think Little Slice of Hell and Lucy 6283, I think it is. They both said that Predator 2 was their favorite sequel, which definitely interesting to me. But I think I prefer Predators.
Yeah,
possibly Prey.
I'm between Predators and Prey.
I just think they both pay great. Like they take what worked in the original film. Yeah, neither are better than the original film. I just can't say it's better because there's just something amazing. There's something about Arnie that just works amazingly in that film. The way it came designed, the design, and everything. The whole film, cast. The way it kind of ebbs and flows. Yes, like a Commando film. Almost like I said, like it's almost like Commando, but then suddenly it changes course midway through. There's just something about this franchise, and like you said earlier about like it's hard to know where to go with it, but with Prey, I'm very much in on the idea, and I could totally see sequels now where it basically just takes different historical settings. I'd be completely down for that.
I want Predators in feudal Japan. I want Predators in the Middle Age.
Feudal Japan.
Japan after the scene in Predators.
Oh yeah, the scene in Predators. Now I said earlier that this one had possibly the best look and the best cinematography, except for one scene, and it is that Yakuza scene in thing. The scene in the long grass with the thing, especially when the Predator and I can't remember the character, but the Yakuza guy, when they're dead in the grass and the scene above it with the thing, it's a beautiful shot. It's one of the best, and it's one of the best action scenes. It is possibly almost one of the best, if not nearly the best in a Predator film.
Yeah, it's fucking
but this film has a lot of great ones too.
So before we get into spoiler territory, because we will give you a countdown, I would highly recommend that people check this film out. I think we've got a great, we've got a great female lead. We've got a very interesting new take on the Predator franchise. We've got some great action, some great fucking kills. Predator's got some new toys to play with, which is always good. And I don't know. I just think I think it's a really strong film, and I'd highly recommend it. Have you got anything to say before we give the countdown?
The only thing I would build on what you just said is that one thing we didn't mention. We'll mention which doesn't spoil it, is stripped. Where people might have had a bit of a worry about the idea that they'd heard a lot about stripped back Predator, as in some people like the sci-fi elements, and they might have been worried that they've taken because the gun is gone, the laser cannon, the plasma cannon, that's gone. Which is for the better, definitely in the setting of the film. It does make 100%. Sense to not have it in the setting of the film. But that doesn't mean that the sci-fi tools are completely gone. It's still very much a sci-fi character. Some
good tools.
Yeah, there are some good, and there are literally, seriously, we'll say about these in a second, but there are some amazing kills in this film.
Yeah.
And I think let's count down.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, last chance, 1.
Predator hangs down.
He does. And he's circumcised, which I didn't expect them to keep up.
No, did I? He also, the foreskin has the 4 little teeth.
Has the little mandibles, yeah. But instead of teeth...
It kind of looked like Alien Predator.
Yeah, instead of teeth, it's little bellends. That wiggle around. I don't know. Some of the kills in this film were absolutely brutal. And I think when the film opened up and it was very much, Act 1, establishing what's going on. Yeah. And this was my concern with the film going straight to streaming, because I heard lower budget. So naturally, like I said, Act 1 is establishing Predator has appeared. Naru wants to be a hunter and feels like she has to kind of prove herself. There was some kind of ritual they spoke about where you have to try and hunt something that's hunting you to prove yourself. I'm not going to try and butcher the name of what it was, because I couldn't, we didn't watch this with subtitles on, so I couldn't, I couldn't really understand it.
I think it was like Kajabi. I'm just going to say it. It's something like that. Maybe. Kajabi, not Kababi.
Kababi.
It's a Kababi.
It's a Kababi.
They were working their ass off to get a kebab.
That's the modern day Britain remix.
Yeah, for anyone in the internet, a kebab. If you don't know.
Yeah, where it's 4 lads who are out on a night out in Wigan, and the Predator tries to kill them as they go to a kebab shop. It's about this ritual, and Naru was kind of a good tracker, and she sees, signs of something else, which they assume is a lion, but it's not. And then Act 2, when she goes out, I was thinking, okay, so maybe because it's a Predator film, because it's a lower budget, straight to Hulu film, we're not going to get as much gore. We're not going to get as much stuff. So, like I said, it's got to be a one-woman show. We get the scene with the bear, which was cool. But I think for me, once she got captured, not captured, but try to be taken back to the tribe by the lads from the tribe who, her brother had sent, and then the Predator came in, and we started to see some kills. I was thinking, fuck me, these are some class kills, man. You have the guy having his arms cut off, a guy getting his legs cut off.
This is proper brutal. And to go to if you've known anything about, say, I feel like the focus of the Comanche tribe is actually oddly kind of used as a way of a star kid, because if you know about any of the old style of those kind of tribes, the way that they'd all take the scalping, and the way that they would attack with blades and stuff, they would attack key points, they would take the legs and stuff. That's very much is almost here. We take different body parts get taken at all kind of time in this film. I would say that I think after having watched them, because one thing I did notice in a lot of the Predator films is, although we actually hear a lot, we don't actually always see them.
No, we don't.
In a lot of the Predator films, you might think you've seen a lot of it, but actually, I found it was very rare when I actually got to see someone fully get killed, apart from occasionally getting the blades through them or something like that, or a spear into them. Apart from that, a lot of it was more implied. In Predators, we had a full-on spine.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But quite often, you don't always see it.
Well,
he's already got it.
If you think about Billy's death in the original, amazing scene, where he realizes he's fucked. So he gets his knife out and he fucking strips to the waist, cuts himself. We don't see it, but we hear that blood curdling scream later. We see the body.
Yeah. In the original, you see very few the Predators actually kill.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who we actually get to see killed. Most of the time, it's got, apart from we get to see a head blown off kind of thing, and things like that, but we don't see that many. It's the same in the sequel. I thought the sequel was more graphic, but actually, the second one, again, mainly apart from a few spears and blades, you don't actually see him. It kind of just cuts off just before. The Predator. The Predators had a few.
Yeah, the Predator.
Lawrence Fishburne got blasted into bits, and
Mahershala Ali. I didn't realize he was in that film.
Yeah, no,
until you put on the Instagram earlier.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that he was that guy. Yeah, so it's interesting because he's in such a. And he's also got a different. He's got a his full name in that film.
Oh, really?
So I'm not going to go. It's Mahershala. Something. It's a very long. It's like it looked like a 30-word name. Mahershala is only part of that name. It's got a whole different sections on it.
So
he's called a full name. So this is earlier in his
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was an interesting one to have. But yeah, even then, there's still a lot where we don't necessarily see whole parts come off and stuff like that. So I think that this one, and I can't complete. I know that the Predator was somewhat gory.
The Predator.
People getting thrown through things and stuff like that. That one definitely has to go. But I think that this is the most graphic.
I think so.
I think we get to see the Predator in full on. There's not many that we don't actually get to see. Which I've got to say, I kind of love it.
Yeah, and me.
Because that was one thing that was actually disappointing for my rewatch of the Predator films, was to actually be, I always thought we saw this. It almost felt a bit tame. And I get it. Different times, special effects to pull off certain ones are very hard to do. Whereas now we can lop off legs, go flying through the air. We can slice people's heads. We can blow them up.
And I guess with the first one, they were trying to keep that it was an alien or it was a predator.
Yeah.
Secret.
There was a little bit of that to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas with this one, I think because we know what it looks like. We got to see it a bit more. For instance, and there were scenes where you didn't quite see it, but it was happening slightly off screen. For instance, when Naru was in I guess it was kind of like a cornfield or the high grass, and she was with somebody else, and he aimed the arrow, and it was aiming its kind of arrow launcher at her. And then they were running, and then as the Predator caught up, we've still followed Naru. But kind of to the side, to the left of the screen, we just saw this guy go down and spurts of blood coming out.
Yeah, and it was an impressive spurt of blood. It was like a full-on, like a shower in the air.
And then as she was running away and we kind of switched to a bird's eye view, we couldn't see the Predator because he was cloaked, but we saw like a trail of red blood. And there was quite a few scenes like that, which were really cool.
That was one that scene there definitely reminded me of that Predator scene also, we talked about.
The Predator himself got fucked up quite a bit.
He did.
He got that.
It was a really nice part of it. Almost, actually, I think almost every time something went against him, you got to see the Predator get at least one hit.
Yeah.
So he wasn't he's obviously he can take a lot of hits before he could ever go down.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see because right from the first thing we get to see is the snake attack, and the snake gets him.
I don't think the snake got him. I think he got the snake just before.
I think the snake has it on one of its teeth. So I think he does get a tooth into him.
Yeah.
That's what we. And the wolf gets several into it. The wolf scene was especially, I thought, was great.
Yeah.
Seeing the wolf go against kind of thing, it's brutal because we almost get to see the full kill laid out.
The bear fucked him up.
The bear did fuck him up. Yeah.
He thought the bear thought he killed him. The bear started taunting.
The bear was like, I'm
out.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Walking off, and then we started in the clicks again, and then he's up.
And then obviously, I think incredible scene and a whole incredible action scene was when Naru got caught in the trap from the colonizers, the French.
Yeah.
We've assumed that they were French, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm almost assuming now if it's meant to be in parts of near the Canadian border that it's French Canadian kind of colonizers.
Well, I don't know if it is because it was filmed in Alberta, but all it says is Great Northern Plains. And I don't know. I researched earlier because I was like, you know what? I had a busy day at work, but I was like, I need to try and do a bit of research. And apparently the Comanche,
that's a very wide area.
Yeah,
to say just the northern plains.
Yeah, but the Comanche apparently now, from my research, have a reserve or something like that. You know, they got fucked over and just got like given bits of land.
Thanksgiving.
So apparently the bit of land, or I'm not sure what exactly it is. If you know what it is, at us and educate us. Is based in Oklahoma, which is in apparently the southern part, border state with Texas. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it's there, but obviously this says it's in the Great Northern Plains. So that makes me think it's like maybe it is along the border region with Canada.
That's what I mean, because there wasn't necessarily at that point in time. I don't think there was necessarily Canada wasn't necessarily a thing. I think it was all one area of Canada. Maybe. Was a separate. I think that's something that came over time when this land got separated into different regions. Because obviously this is the main period when I think America did start. Was it 1776? Rings a bell in my head of when that whole shit went down.
Wasn't that the 1776? Wasn't that when the War of Independence happened?
Oh yeah, that might have been the
maybe. I think it is.
1776.
I feel like that is.
Yeah,
I feel like
there's a long. I don't know. This is American history. We don't learn. We don't really learn American history.
No, we don't really
know. Be honest. Yeah, we don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, but the scene where she got kind of captured by the French, I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, cool. This is an interesting, take on it. And then when they used him as bait, and we got that, we got an awesome action scene where the Predator was just fucking these French dudes up.
Oh yeah, Well, when we first saw all this, it just in my head, it was like, new meat.
New
like more meat. More meat. Like, I didn't want it to just be her getting chased. I did want to see more of it.
Yeah.
But that action scene where literally, especially when it gets to the part in the. Obviously, they're like watching over, but when it gets to because they're obviously
they've got the muskets.
Well, they're trying to they know about the Predator, don't they? Because they're trying to lure him in with Naru and her brother.
Yeah.
So they're waiting there, and obviously you just get to see just one of the just blood and the body disappear off a horse behind, and then suddenly you see that it's not just one or two people on a horse, it's like a whole load of them, because then all of the horses come running around the side, and they're like, you see the two guys, fuck. Like what the hell, like what's there? But then when they get down near Nauru in the front, and we get the whole of the Voyagers kind of in there with the Predator. That's the scene where he just literally stood in the middle of them, and he's lopping off legs. He's using he's like different tools. I mean, he's taking hits. He's getting shot. He's getting blades. You see it but he pulls out little blades that just slice them. The net scene.
Yeah, the net.
When the guy gets stuck on the net, and we've seen this before, and obviously we've seen the net where it goes slightly into their skin and stuff, but then they get a blade and they get killed straight away. That was in because I don't know if that was in the first one, but it was definitely in Predator 2, that one, because a guy gets it against the Predator 2. Yeah, and then Danny Glover gets it for like a second, but manages to cut his way out of it before it slices, because it's Danny Glover.
Yeah.
But this guy literally you just see just basically bits of organs are left. It gets completely like everything, and it almost seems like there's something else in the netting as well that's making it disintegrate, because it starts to really the log that he's on starts to really like disintegrate almost. So it's almost like there's a chemical on it as well that just makes it all break down into mush.
And then I think one of my favorite in that was I knew that the Predator had a shield in this from the trailer. And there was one where he had somebody grabbed around the neck, and then he activated the shield, and it just cut his head the tree off, and that was a beautiful one.
That one's awesome. That one comes back in the end in the battle as well. The whole with the shield, and quite a tense kind of scene. But that's that whole he literally we get a play on the so he doesn't have the whole we don't get the classic laughing or things like that,
which I kind of liked.
In almost every film we tend to get the whole I'm going to blow you up now because I've lost, so I'm going to blow you up. But we don't have the self-destruct. Instead, we have...
It plays on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a play on it, like 3 little bombs.
Which is cool.
That kind of float in the air. And the French... one of them... The one that I kept thinking looks like a French Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, I was thinking, is that Mark Addy?
Is that Mark Addy? At first, I literally thought, is that Mark Addy?
French Mark Addy.
But anyway, he looks like he survives longer. He gets later on. But he's the only one that's like, right, there's a weird beeping thing. I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
The rest of them were like, what is it? They were like literally like moths to life. They were like,
ooh, shiny.
And then we don't get to see what actually happens to them. We just get to see like what looked like giant pulsing explosion going off like in 3 different spots around there, and we know that most of them have been now wiped out.
And then obviously we get where Naru goes and kind of gets her dog, and then the scene with Naru and her brother, where Naru's kind of trying to work the flintlock, which obviously comes back into it later. That scene, I kind of thought that might be the end of the film. I'm not sure why. I thought...
What, when they were fighting him?
Yeah, when they were fighting him and they were working together, because I was thinking, okay, maybe this is like them, because earlier on in it, they say that we killed the lion, and then he's like, no, I did. So I was thinking maybe this is them, reconciling over it. And that was a really cool scene. We got to see her brother go toe to toe. And yet again, the Predator takes some hits, which I always like when, it doesn't seem invincible, and he is taking hits. And then, Naru's brother, Rip, gets killed.
There's quite it's a very good scene. Like Naru's brother's proper
he's a good warrior, man.
Is properly going at him. Like he's struggling to get, like, Predator's struggling to catch him. He is getting all angles on him. He's fucking the Predator up too. He's getting lot of blade into him.
Yeah.
Axes, blades, whatever he can get. Spear
Arrows.
goes into him.
Yeah.
He comes round on the horse, doesn't he? With that one great shot where he jumps off the horse.
Which was class.
The spear straight through the Predator. And you do kind of start to think, fuck, he is like getting properly fucked up.
Yeah.
But there's also that scene is great when he stood there and you see the expression on his face change and he knows something that she doesn't. This is one when the Predator's invisible, but he's fully invisible, which is a weird change that happens in this film. Occasionally, he doesn't have, like, we see him invisible. We go and see like the blended version, like the shield version, where we get to see parts of them. But there are ones when he goes fully like invisible, because the brother is almost so good at tracker and hunter that he's like, I know that he's right there. Yeah. Like, and that's why he tells her, like, this is the end. And you're stood there thinking, how is he? I was expecting his head to just suddenly go.
Yeah. Like flying disc or something like that.
I was expecting literally, or just to see like a slice in almost not come out of invisibility.
Yeah.
You just see like the blood appear, like the slice appear through his neck.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't get that. He gets blade through the chest, which at first I was wondering whether he was going to somehow survive the blade, because it was a bit higher. I was like, is it heart or is it lower?
That's heart, man.
But he's lifted in the air. I don't know if it is heart, because he doesn't die straight away. He still has enough to come back up and fight him before she can get away.
But even if I don't know,
because we get a whole thing with the gun, don't we? Where we get she got the gun off of the translator early in the film, who gets a fairly cool death where the Predator is literally scanning the whole camp for who is alive just before the brother part came in. But we get the whole spread. But then the only reason he's able to recognize the guy who's trying to pretend to be dead. Yeah. We know his body's cold because it was played early in the film that the medicine that he gets actually makes you go cold.
And this is just to cut in, Ethan. This is a point that I did enjoy, is we get that established, but earlier, kind of around the start of the second act, when Naru falls in that mud pit. Yeah, I was thinking, are they just going to do an Arnie? Where he fought, because there's always an interesting part of the Predator films. The formulas can mostly follow the same bit, but there's always a scene where they realize they're seeing through thermal vision. And I think when she fell into that mud pit, the bog, as we called it, I was thinking, okay, is this going to be kind of like Arnie, where she accidentally finds out?
I was expecting the Predator to actually show up at that scene, and she was going to stay lying in the bog.
That's what I was thinking.
And he's going to move past, and she's going to be like, "You didn't get me."
That's what I was thinking. But what I did enjoy was she kind of realized that this medicine that she made made the translator go invisible, or lowered his body temperature so he looked dead. And I thought that was a really cool scene. Sorry, back to what you were saying, Monkey.
Well, there is a thing in this with the actually just about that, because with the medicine, but there's also a thing because she is that why he's able to walk past her when the French Robert Baratheon is going to be gone now?
Yeah, because she took the medicine.
Because she took the medicine. Okay. Like, I was getting confused as to whether, because we kept saying because she uses him because the Predator hooks on to whoever is the person who seems to be the main predator, the main attacker. So he walks past her, and I thought that was sold because, like with her brother, he doesn't go directly for her because she's not the one who appears to be the threat.
She's not doing anything.
Which is why I was more like, is he only recognizing it based on the fact that he's the one who's the threat, not or based on that? That's why I thought he walked past her.
No,
because he saw the one with the gun and he went straight towards her.
No,
bypassed.
If you see,
whereas in my head I was thinking, if he could see you, I feel like he'd just blade you on the way past.
No, because you could see in his thermal vision. You could make out the outline of her, but you could actually properly see her.
Okay, I missed that part.
Yeah.
So I was there. Like, I get the idea that he'd go after the main attacker, but I also don't believe that he'd just walk past you, because if he could clearly see you, I feel like he would just literally on the way past, like, just blade in your back, lift you up, fuck off.
Yeah,
like you're done. No, that's interesting.
And the finale fight was also really cool. I thought.
Yeah. Oh, just to go back to the camp, the guy that was on the floor, because I never said what. He only finds him based on the trails of warm blood.
Yeah.
So the blood still has to be warm if he's still alive. So that's the only part he can't hide. The body temperature has dropped, yes. So it doesn't look like the other humans, but the line of the blood, and I love the fact that the Predator stamps on his bleeding leg to make him scream, and then just straight into him. So that I just thought that was awesome. But yeah, this all builds. I think I knew it was going to be just her, because we had to have that whole just her. The whole film was about her proving herself.
Yeah,
her brother had said earlier the line about the hunt, as in, like, you're not a true hunter. You're not going to pass the whatever it was called, the kebabby.
I only thought
you're not going to pass it unless you have killed something that's hunting. Unless you have killed something that's hunting you. Well,
the reason why I thought it might have ended earlier is because I paused it to go for a wee about half an hour in, and we had an hour left. So I think with credits, it's like an hour and 39 minutes.
Yeah.
And you could comfortably say 5-7 minutes of that is credits. So it's not an overly long film. And then once we got to that end part, and her brother was fighting really well.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, could it end here? Maybe, could it be like it? Because it doesn't have too long left. But no, we did get
there's not
a really cool ending.
The finale with Noru is not exactly that long. It doesn't actually play out for that long.
No,
like the actual fight with the Predator doesn't actually take that long. Which I think is purposeful, because it's also a case of you wouldn't survive if you've got that long with it. The Predator's going to get you.
They never do take that long, I think.
No, but there's. I don't feel. I feel like it's saying the original. You had a little bit more of Arnie setting up, laying things, then going through.
Yeah.
Them him tracing and tracking her and stuff like that. Whereas this one, it didn't feel like we had that as much of a long setup of her like setting things up.
No, it was a bit more montage.
We had that kind of stuff. Obviously, because when she uses French Robert Baratheon as a trap.
Yeah,
So then she finally uses the gun, which I sat there the whole time with the whole gun thing being like, I just don't feel like this is just going to give you much.
No.
Like you're focusing a lot on this gun. I feel like it's going to, I do love the joke because there is the joke early in the film where literally like the predator's there and they fire it and then they stop and go, shit,
they have to reload.
We've got to do our classic, like the old the rifles or whatever that have to be like reloaded in such a way. So that's quite funny. They're like, fuck.
The reason why I thought it would fuck him up is because I always remember when I was at school, we had like a bunch.
Jaws.
Jaws. Yeah, we had Jaws when I was at school.
I blew a hole through a mat.
That's how we do it in the West Country. But we had some like medieval reenactment people come and they brought weapons. And one of them, I remember them bringing massive halberds that used to take 2 people to lift, 3 people to lift. But one of them was they brought muskets and flintlocks. Oh, yeah. And they showed us how to load them and stuff. I mean, obviously, they weren't live. But what they said was the bullets, obviously, are like small lead balls.
Yeah.
But it might be because of the heat. But once they enter, they start expanding. So it enters like a small ball, but it comes out like a dinner plate. Which is why I was thinking if she shoots the fucking dude, it's got to blow a hole in him. And it kind of
I know the exit wound is like that. Like it goes in like small, but the exit wound with a lot of ones, it's normally the exit wound is way bigger than the. I don't even know. It's not the thing, is it? It's not the ball. It's the exit wound's the size of a dinner plate, I think.
Yeah, the exit wound. Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what. Yeah, like no. So I totally believed it was going to be, but purely based on what we'd seen with the Predator so far, the way that he'd be able to take such things. You know, he'd been attacked with a lot of things. He'd already been shot. He'd already been stabbed, speared. I mean, the Predator, he's been bitten. He's been shot. He's been stabbed. He's been speared. He's been axed. He's been, you know, all of these things. He has taken a beating in this film. We do get a scene where where you see him rehealing and stuff like that. We also get that cool scene with the wolf where you get to see him put the spray on to literally like melt off the skin,
flesh,
which is different than some of the other ones in the other film where, like in the second one, you literally get to see him like polishing. Basically, he's like using a polisher thing to just like he just peels the skin off, then just polishes off the blood. It's like different, but I really like that like redesign of it kind of thing. So yeah. I said about the whole like that she used him as like a total gun, and then she blasts in the back of the head, and then she gets the mask, the helmet, or whatever, and she uses that, and you see that again he's taken a proper hit, but he's still going. He's like you've got all of the blood going down his head and stuff like that from where it's taking a good chunk out of the back of his skull, but he's still going. But the nice thing is that there's one thing you see with the helmet that she's recognized, as in earlier where we had right from the beginning. She learned that early on with when the group of 4 guys from her tribe are then taken out, kind of thing. That's earlier in the second act. That's before we get to any of the Voyagers and stuff like that. But we see them getting taken out. In that way with the gun, which is not a gun, not the plasma gun. It's like
a spear gun.
It's like 3 little spears, metal spikes, things like that kind of thing. It is much more like it's less like it's not the blaster, which could have just wiped out everything.
There's no fun in it.
Like there's no fun in it. So I completely get why that was taken out, and I do like the fact that kind of defies the expectation. This film is quite good at defying the expectation of what we're expecting, like you said, like not doing the mud. If anything, actually we get a scene where the Predator in the finale gets to actually be the one coming out of the mud, like Arnie. We get a homage in that way. Instead, it's the Predator who's underneath the bog and comes out of it in that kind of Arnie mud all over. Even little things earlier in the film, like the fact that those guys from her tribe, and the one of them goes off to do a squat.
Yeah, he goes for a shit.
He goes off to do a squat. But again, so in my head, I was like, is this going to be basically, we've done it in Comanche, we've got a woman, but we're still just going to do the same stereotypical tropes of one guy goes off and now the Predator is going to hunt. But instead, no, the Predator doesn't go for the one guy that went off. The Predator goes for the whole big group of them to show the Predators obviously assessed it and went, yeah, I can take these guys.
Yeah, it drives them out with the possum to see what they've got.
Yeah,
and then it goes in. And
I love that little. I love the fact that this is probably the most that we actually get to see him tracking.
Yeah,
we get to see him tracking, such as when we see all of the not bulls. That's not
bison.
Bison, is it the bison? Yeah. The whole dead field of them, and she leaves things and touches things, and then we actually get to see the Predator picking up the things that she looked at the trail and literally following the trail like a good hunter. We actually get to see him using skills like using things to kind of divert them to make them think something's there, like probably more than we've ever got to see him actually doing this kind of tracking skill, which is nice when it comes to the finale, because now we've got all of these things where there've almost been two people who've been like following each other on paths the whole film.
Yeah.
And now we get how is she possibly going to overcome this creature that's literally wiped out entire voyages, entire tribes, things like that. But she's got a plan, and to be fair, I didn't even notice the setting that she'd brought him back to the bog.
And I think that it goes maybe because the bog is established during the day. And then look, once it happened, I was like, it's obvious, because the tree that
you can see the bit that she's aiming the axe at and stuff.
And I was thinking, okay, she's going to try and like impale him on that. I was thinking, and I think maybe because now the end scene takes place at night and during the snow, and it looks beautiful. There's something about a battle in the snow which just looks class. And
was it snow or ash? I thought it was ash.
I thought it was snow.
Because he put it together and it seemed more like ash. I thought it was the explosion or something.
Maybe. I thought it was snow, but
it could have been so. It looked black. It looked.
I know
black.
He did touch it.
It looked dark, and it sounded more like a kind of the ashiness of it. But yeah, the scene itself, like the setup, it's great to go back to that kind of part. And the nice thing is with Nora, we've seen her go on the journey. But we also know what she is capable of.
Yeah,
she hasn't always got to show it, but with with one of the guys from the tribe, where she was beating on him, and she was doing a pretty good job of beating the shit out of a guy that is that was a good bit bigger than her and taller than her, and she was kicking his ass.
Yeah, she was.
And then we get to see in the village of the Voyagers when she goes back in and takes out several of the Voyagers.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that's when we get to see how fast she is, just like her brother. She's fast.
Yeah,
she can move, and that is kind of the skill here. That Predator's not quite as fast. He can move fast, but I don't know if it's about the height or the armor or things like that. Although he's got speed to him, he's not quite as fast to get under. And she's using the bottom. She's going under him, isn't she? Yeah. He's got the strength, but she's literally using and moving around him. And she can move so fast around him that she can kind of get little hits.
Yeah.
Little stab.
Yeah. And it was just a really, cool, well done scene.
We get him with the shield. And he goes at her on the shield goes to tree, and as he comes with the shield, she actually makes him. Doesn't he? He's the one that takes his own arm.
Yeah, I think he took.
He goes for her, and she goes round him, and he goes to get it, and it's almost like he's so adamant he has to beat her that he goes for his arm, then realizes what he's done is that he's put the blade into the tree, which takes the blade out of action.
Yeah,
and then he takes the rest of his arm out of action.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what happened. It was quite a quick scene, wasn't it? And what I never when I'm in the flow of it, I never like pausing and going back.
Yeah.
But that's what I saw was...
I saw him take his arm with the shield accidentally.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. She might have sliced it off. I thought it looked like he took his own because he was almost going for it, went back quickly, and it sliced himself up, almost in the rage that he had. That could be wrong. You might notice that that's wrong.
But when he had the, when he had the shield against her throat, the stones, that was a beautiful scene as well.
It is, because it's crunching through the stone. You can see it going down, and we get a beautiful close-up shot where you literally see it move down like a kind of guillotine or something, like coming down towards her, kind of right into there. And I love the fact that you're literally like, fuck. Like, you're thinking, how the hell? She's got nothing on her. I love the fact that she rips off one of his... mandibles is that and obviously they have large spikes on the end, so she just shoves that into like that distracts enough for her to get him off and get her away. And then it's the use of the bog, obviously, that she traps him without him realizing where the bog is there, just like she wasn't. And he, sinks like a rock, and like boom, straight in.
Well, she's got no arm. His legs like tied together.
Oh yeah, of course. She wraps around because the dog comes back and they run around and she managed to wrap a bit. Yeah, so that's true. But I love the we get a nice little twist with him coming out and thinking, "I've got you. You're there. You're stuck." Points the new gun at her with the old spikes that we said about, the spikes or whatever they are that shoot out like little arrows. But what he doesn't realize is that the helmet is still in action because the helmet is pointing towards. So she's used what she knows. Yeah. She's recognized where the aim comes out of. The aim that popped up in her face so many times to kill people, she's now used it against. Yeah,
against him.
So basically, we just know. It seems that when you activate that, apparently it activates that, and therefore whatever it's aiming at. So I don't know.
I mean, it's established earlier in the film, so it was a cool way of doing it, you know. I think it's definitely one of the better, endings of the Predator. I think Arnie's one is a classic.
Yeah,
I can't even remember how he beats him in Predator 2. I know he cuts his arm off and chases him through some random...
It's a lot. It goes through a lot of different scenes. I literally watched the other day, and even in my head, I'm trying to remember exactly how he finishes him off at the end, because it was a bit like, whoa, okay, we're in a different room now, we're in a different place. Yeah. It's all very fast. I'm sure
I remember the Predator healing in some random...
The round blade into his chest, I believe, but yeah.
Yeah.
And Predators is all a big old using fire and stuff like, instead of using the mud, it's the fire to kind of just
throw the heat signature.
It comes at him again and again and again. But yeah, no, it's definitely
how he kills him in the Predators either.
Some people, the only thing that people might end up being disappointed is if you're expecting, because there is a slight, I think, more, say in the original, there is a bit more of a full-on kind of actiony kind of a bit more hit here, slammed here. Like big old tree comes down and hit you. If you're expecting all of these big like maneuvers and these big things to track, this is much more of a straightforward kind of fight.
I don't know. There was some traps. There was the particularly brutal one where she kind of put the spikes.
Oh, the spikes on the tree. Yeah, that was a very cool. That was great because he jumped to. She had already noticed that he jumps between trees, so she'd use that as a way to be. So yeah, no, I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying for some people you might feel like it's a scaled down version of the original kind of thing in that way. I just think I could see some people feeling that final little bit might be a little bit anticlimactic.
I don't know, to be honest. I thought it was quite good because I think
I know I liked it. I enjoyed it. I just do think it's slightly more scaled back than some of the action of some of the other at the end.
To be fair, it's been
the rest of the film is very action. The rest of the film is very action packed, especially the second to early third act is very action packed. So you're not going to be missing out on action. Just say that end bit for some people might feel a bit like, oh, okay, we're here.
To be fair,
we're finally in.
It's been a long time since I've watched the other one, so I'm going to have to rewatch them.
Well, exactly, because we do get the to link to when she returns with the head of the Predator in her hand.
Like I said to you, imagine just coming back with a fucking Predator.
Yeah, exactly. Back into the village, and then like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
like this all over her with the glowing, luminous blood.
Yeah,
and we also get the handover of the weapon.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it early in the film. It wasn't until the end bit when I noticed that it's the same rifle that is given. It's a weird throw off kind of thing, but it's the same rifle that is given to Danny Glover in Predator 2 by the Predators. It's an interesting one, and obviously here's one thing again, we were sat there watching the end credits because we were like, but how does it get back?
Yeah.
How does it get back to the Predators, though? Because that's a bit of a plot hole, isn't it? Because she's got it now, but the Predators had it to give it to Danny Glover. So we're like, oh, is it going to come back? Or is it a sequel? Or is there going to be another one where more of them come back to defeat her, maybe when she's older or things like that, so they can stick with the tribe? But actually, it's answered in the credits. So if you didn't stick around and watch all of the cave drawings.
It's almost like cave painting.
It's like cave painting style. Like, it tells the whole story. It's very cool. It tells the whole story through these pictures
which was really cool.
And images, except the last one, it has it actually shows you what happens, because it shows you in the very last shot, you see her, but then you see lightning and you see 3 predator ships appear in the sky above them, which implies it happened only moments afterwards. It's a nice way to tease it, to leave it on this kind of little wink wink, but also leave it in like a happy ending. But if you watch the credits, you're now assuming that probably not so much.
No, because from my understanding is, and this is kind of comes from the end of Predators 2.
Oh yeah, of course,
is that if the Predator or the Predators, or I can't remember what they were called, the Yatu or something like that, the species is, but either way, they respect
the one who defeated,
the victor, which is why they gave Danny Glover the flintlock. Even though if they gave me the flintlock, I'd be like, dude, I've got like a 9mm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so whether when they came down, there was an exchange of weapons or something like that. That's kind of what I believe it's implied.
That's what I believe, and the fact that the director obviously seems to like, because it's like Predator 2 was almost not one I expected to actually see any hints or winks to, or you know, like we get winks to the other original. Obviously, we get several. We get the mud and the bog, like we get the if it can bleed, and we can kill it.
And the thing for me is there were 2 line throwbacks. So there was if we can bleed, if it bleeds, we can kill it, and come on, do it. Both of those kind of felt natural to me. You know, sometimes when you get
if it can bleed one definitely felt very like
that felt quite natural.
That I don't know why that makes logical sense in my head, and it made sense.
No, it did.
If they suddenly said get to the chopper, I would be a bit like, what the fuck?
Or she'd have thrown, you know, she throws an axe at somebody into a tree and she goes, stick around. I'd have been like, okay. You know what I mean? You'll set us up, you son of a bitch. You know? If they'd have been like, sometimes when you watch a sequel, especially to a classic like Predator or something like that, and they have these they have these iconic lines they bring back. Sometimes they feel a bit shoehorned in, but with this, it felt a bit more natural. I guess because we probably didn't get any until, you know, she was like, I don't think we can kill it. And he said, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And that kind of made sense given the fact that they're hunters.
Yeah, you know? I think it's helped by the fact that, again, and this is a big to Dan Trachtenberg, the fact that he makes everything feel so genuine and real.
Yeah.
That even though you know it's a link and a line, it feels completely like realistic within the subtext of what they're saying. Yeah. And the only homages are things that are picked out very carefully to be, it doesn't break the, you know, you know, this is still a film about an alien that comes down to attack a tribe in history. So, you know, it's not, but weirdly, you never actually feel like it's implausible. Like you never feel like it's impossible. It's very well done. I've talked about how beautiful I think the film looks and the fact that I would have liked to have seen this on a big screen, but it never feels implausible, the story. It makes total sense, and we've already said I'd quite happily watch more of this style. Yeah. I don't need a continuous thread. I feel like this may be the best way to approach Predator.
Give me feudal Japan, man. You know, that's what I want, feudal Japan. Feudal Japan. I was
going to say, whenever people say these things, people normally just end up going, I want Nazis.
Yeah.
Like with Assassin's Creed for years, all I heard with Assassin's Creed, for instance, was, when they're going to do one set in World War II where they go through like the thing and go against the Nazis. I'd seen so many forums about that. I was like, if you think about it, that really doesn't make any fucking sense.
No. Hitler was never at all.
No, but like not even Hitler, just like they want to be able to just like as if like go through the trenches and kill Nazis and stuff. It's like I don't think that would work.
Play card.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so bizarre. But no, it's completely like this film works really well within the context of what they've given. I'd definitely be interested to see more of this style of film. But yeah, it's interesting. The links and stuff like that we talked about, the links like having Predator 2 and having that, because the other films don't necessarily imply that the Predators are so forthcoming with whoever kills. So some of them imply a bit more that kind of, if you get stuck, you're fucked kind of thing. Like Predators, for instance, makes it seem a lot more doom and gloom kind of thing.
Definitely.
the Predator makes it seem like they're just pretty much all out to kill you.
Yeah.
Like non-stop killing you. They don't care if you kill one of theirs because they'll still come and kill you.
Yeah.
But the second one and the first one doesn't give you any chance to know. No. So it's only the second one that builds on that implies that
there's a sense
it's interesting that Dan Trachtenberg's taken it from possibly what some people would see as the worst Predator film.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying out of some people would say that the second one, or possibly the most recent one, the Predator, are the weakest of the franchise. And yet he seems to have taken quite a lot of the mythology of that film. Interesting.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm a huge Predator fan. The film kind of snuck up on me very quickly. I mean, I'd heard about it, but I wouldn't say I went in with low expectations because I fucking love Predator. Yeah. So I would be in on it.
I straight away when I heard the idea, I was like, this sounds solid.
This sounds solid, but I think the execution was much better than I anticipated it to be. I think when I heard it was going straight to streaming services and it had a lower budget, I was thinking, okay, maybe this isn't going to be as strong. Maybe this is going to be a bit different. But actually, I think it was a strong film. It was enjoyable. The third act in particular had so many great kills. It was a really enjoyable film. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
Just to say that it's not a half-baked Predator film. That's what some people will go in thinking. This is a scaled back Predator film and it's half baked, as in we don't really get the full on Predator. It's mainly about a woman. But if this film wasn't, if this film hadn't been so led, it's nice to have a woman as the protagonist.
Yeah.
That's a big positive. We haven't really had that. We've had side characters, but we haven't really had a full on woman to be the main protagonist here. Really. And it's nice that it's almost this kind of odd, like, it's almost taking this kind of like Mulan like story, but turning it into this sci-fi, actioner kind of thing. It's nice to take that kind of blend, but it's also because they seem to be so respectful of the source and the historical period. And also, as many people have pointed out, the fact that they're using a point in history that often tends to get forgotten about.
Yeah.
It's a part in history. Not to say it, but Americans, you kind of push that part of the story out of the way, don't you? You don't want people quite to remember that part, what happened in there. So that's why, like, it's nice to kind of have this link back to that and to use a different kind of. They could have gone with any historical setting and made it, made it something we've seen a million times. We could have had fucking Predator versus Cowboys instead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't need Cowboy versus Alien. We've had that film. It wasn't very good. So, I just think I really do admire the fact that they've taken a swing, because this could have, at the same time, this could have gone so wrong. They could have gone, how cool would it have been to have aliens versus Indians? But
not Indians, my friend.
No, but that's my point.
Oh, yeah.
How cool would it have been? Like, you could imagine it in a boardroom. How cool would it have been to have met, like, some stupid boardroom saying, versus Indians.
I thought you were
have all of that. No, I'm not drawing racism, I promise. I am using that racism as a point to say that is what this could have been, though. We've seen Hollywood do it. Imagine like Michael Bay or Paul W.S. Anderson, who we were talking about earlier today. Imagine them going with this, like being given like this idea of a script. It would have been way worse than
it would have.
It would not have had this kind of respect for the culture that this film gives.
It would have been like, where in this point the French voyeurs, instead of capturing Naru and keeping her in a cage, it would have been like, I am here to save you.
And Naru would not be in that kind of costume. She would be in some like terrible, and also, well, if it was Paul Anderson anyway, we would have had Mila Djokovic. It would have been Mila Djokovic in some kind of tanning. It would not have been respectful at all.
But no, I think I definitely recommend checking it out. So we are close to celebrating our 2-year anniversary of the podcast.
We are.
Whoop whoop, as they used to say back in the early 2000s. I don't know why I did that. I feel slightly embarrassed.
Time.
Yeah. So we are running a really cool competition. We've got some cool stuff to give away. We're not going to reveal it now, but keep an eye on our social media at CMTH Podcast. We're giving away one winner on Twitter and one winner on Instagram. So you potentially have 2 chances to get your hand on some little swag, which we've got some cool stuff to give away. Some cool stuff, and we will be back on Monday. If you've listen to this episode after Monday, then we have an episode after this, which is a new feature, which is a must-see horror. So we brought an online scratch poster which had 100 must-see horrors on there, and we're working our way through that. Some stuff we might not have seen, and seeing if it deserves the kind of term of must-see horror. Yeah, as always, thank you for checking out the podcast. If it's your first time listening, thank you for listening. If you're a returner, thank you as always. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll get the episodes as soon as they're out. And as always, if you leave us a lovely review, it always helps. And we will see you shortly. Take care, stay safe, don't get hunted. Bye-bye.